Today, we're exploring a hot topic: Donald Trump's bold exit strategy regarding U.S. involvement in Ukraine. As tensions rise, will he pull the U.S. out of the conflict? Join us as we break down his key proposals and their potential impact on Ukraine and the global stage. As the war in Ukraine continues to escalate, the role of the United States has been pivotal in shaping the conflict's trajectory. With the increasing toll on both Ukrainian and Russian lives, alongside growing economic challenges faced by Western nations, the discussion surrounding U.S. involvement has become increasingly urgent. Enter former President Donald Trump, who has resurfaced on the political stage with a bold exit strategy aimed at reassessing America's role in the conflict. This strategy has the potential to reshape U.S. foreign policy, affect Ukraine's defense capabilities, and influence global geopolitical dynamics. Background: U.S. involvement in Ukraine. Understanding the context of U.S. involvement in Ukraine is critical to analyzing Trump's proposed exit strategy. Following the Soviet Union's dissolution, Ukraine emerged as an independent state, and the U.S. recognized its sovereignty, promoting democratic reforms and economic stability. The relationship took a dramatic turn in 2014 when Russia annexed Crimea, an act widely condemned by the international community. In response, the U.S. imposed sanctions on Russia and began providing military and financial support to Ukraine. As the conflict escalated further with the full-scale Russian invasion in February 2022, U.S. support increased dramatically under the Biden administration. This assistance has included billions of dollars in military aid, advanced weaponry, and humanitarian support aimed at bolstering Ukraine's defenses and deterring Russian aggression. However, as the war persists, the effectiveness of U.S. involvement has come into question, prompting calls for a reassessment of America's strategy in the region. Key components of Trump's exit strategy: 1. Prioritizing negotiation over military engagement. At the heart of Trump's exit strategy is a strong emphasis on negotiation as the primary means to resolve the conflict. Trump has consistently argued that peaceful resolution is achievable through dialogue with Russian President Vladimir Putin. He believes that direct engagement with Russia, as opposed to military confrontation, is essential for a sustainable resolution to the war. By framing the U.S. as a mediator rather than a military participant, Trump aims to position himself as a peacemaker in a conflict that has persisted for far too long. This approach aligns with Trump's America First philosophy, which prioritizes domestic issues over foreign conflicts. His supporters resonate with this perspective, believing that U.S. resources should be redirected toward pressing needs at home rather than invested in foreign wars. Trump's approach to diplomacy seeks to cut through what he perceives as bureaucratic inefficiencies in U.S. foreign policy, promoting a more direct and pragmatic method of engagement. 2. Scaling back military aid to Ukraine. Another significant aspect of Trump's exit strategy involves a substantial reduction in military support to Ukraine. Trump has expressed skepticism about the extent of U.S. assistance, questioning whether the current level of aid is justified or effective. Instead of providing advanced military equipment and extensive funding, he suggests that Ukraine should focus on negotiating a peace settlement that preserves its territorial integrity without relying heavily on U.S. military intervention. This potential scaling back of military aid raises serious concerns about Ukraine's capacity to defend itself against Russian aggression. As the conflict drags on, Ukraine's military capabilities have become increasingly reliant on Western support. Critics of Trump's strategy argued that a reduction in U.S. assistance could embolden Russia, allowing it to exploit any perceived weakness in Ukraine's defenses. The ramifications of this could be dire, leading to potential territorial losses and a weakened Ukrainian state. 3. Relying on European allies. A key element of Trump's exit strategy is the expectation that European nations will take on a greater responsibility for supporting Ukraine. Trump has long criticized NATO allies for failing to meet their defense spending commitments and has called for a united front among Western nations. He argues that European countries should be the primary providers of military and economic assistance to Ukraine, reinforcing their duty to maintain regional security. While many European countries have stepped up their support for Ukraine, the success of this approach depends on their willingness and capacity to do so. The fear is that if the U.S. significantly reduces its support, it may create a perception of uncertainty among European nations. This could lead to fragmentation in Western unity, undermining the collective resolve needed to counter Russian aggression. The potential for a divided response among allies raises questions about the future of NATO and the credibility of U.S. commitments to its partners. Potential consequences for Ukraine. The implications of Trump's exit strategy for Ukraine are profound and multifaceted. If implemented, this strategy could result in significant shifts in Ukraine's military and political landscape. A reduction in U.S. military aid could severely limit Ukraine's ability to sustain its defense against ongoing Russian offensives. Without robust support, Ukraine may find it increasingly difficult to repel Russian advances, leading to higher casualties and potential territorial losses. Moreover, Trump's negotiation-centric approach could pressure Ukraine to make concessions that undermine its sovereignty and territorial integrity. The specter of being forced into a settlement with Russia that compromises key interests looms large among Ukrainian leadership and citizens alike. Such a scenario could not only destabilize Ukraine politically, but could also embolden pro-Russian elements within the country, leading to internal divisions and further complicating the path to peace. Global geopolitical ramifications. Trump's proposed exit strategy may have far-reaching geopolitical implications beyond Ukraine. A perceived withdrawal of U.S. support could embolden adversarial nations, particularly Russia and China, to assert their interests more aggressively. If Russia interprets a reduction in U.S. involvement as a sign of weakness, it may feel empowered to pursue aggressive actions in other regions, including the Baltic states, which share historical ties and vulnerabilities. Additionally, the dynamics of U.S. foreign policy may undergo a significant transformation. A shift away from robust support for Ukraine could signal to allies that the U.S. is retreating from its traditional role as a global leader. This perception may lead to increased instability in regions where U.S. interests are at stake, undermining decades of diplomatic efforts and alliances. The consequences of a fragmented Western response could be felt across the globe, shifting the balance of power and emboldening authoritarian regimes. China, closely monitoring the situation in Ukraine, may interpret a U.S. withdrawal as an opportunity to assert itself more aggressively in the Asia-Pacific region, particularly regarding Taiwan. A simultaneous crisis in Eastern Europe and the Asia-Pacific could stretch U.S. resources thin, complicating the ability to respond effectively to multiple challenges. The global implications of Trump's exit strategy could reshape the international order, leading to a more multipolar world with increased competition between major powers. Domestic political reactions. The domestic political landscape surrounding Trump's exit strategy is complex and multifaceted. While many within Trump's base may support a pullback from Ukraine, there is also considerable bipartisan support for continued assistance to Ukraine in Congress. Many lawmakers from both parties view U.S. support as crucial for countering Russian aggression and maintaining stability in Europe. As the conflict evolves, public opinion may shift, particularly as the human and economic costs of the war become more apparent. Thanks for watching. What are your thoughts on Trump's exit strategy? Should the U.S. negotiate peace or continue supporting Ukraine? Let us know in the comments. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more insights on global affairs. See you next time.